So a common question we get is, what's the definition of a true hot rod? Well, we're going to show you right here a true definition of a bare bones traditional hot rod. So here we have a great example of the most iconic hot rod that anybody knows about. It's a 1932 Ford 3-window coupe. Great stance, great color. You can't ever beat black. And we'll just kind of work our way front to back and describe to you what this hot rod is. You can see it's got a straight front axle, rolling bone style. It's got the early style juice drum brakes. The headlights are tucked in nice and low, nice and tight. We always like that. And then to wrap it all up, especially on an open wheel car, it's got the bi-sply looking tires. So you can see these are actually radials. These are from Diamondback, so they look like an old bi-sply, but they're actually radials, so they're going to drive a lot better. But this thing is killer. Again, you can't beat black. It's got a good looking paint job. It's got a great stance. So you got the original 32 rails, the split wishbones, the steel wheels, the hubcaps, the rings. I mean, it's got a nice little chop. It really just screams real deal traditional hot rod. You can't really beat it. You can see just right here, I mean, the way this thing sits, it's nice and tucked down. It's got a low slung stance, not too low, looks really good. Even back to, if you come around the back, we've got the 1950 Pontiac taillights. And then if you look up underneath it, we've got a quick change rear end. So some of you folks may or may not know what a quick change is, but you can see right here, it's got this center section and it's got gears in there. And the reason they call it a quick change is because you can change those gears out to quickly change your ratio. So if you're going to do some drag racing, you may put one set of gears in there, versus if you're going to go do highway cruising or try to set a land speed record, you put another set of gears in there. But again, super bare bones. This car is killer. It just screams hot rod. One of the biggest things that makes a hot rod is the power plant, right? So check this out. It's got a baby HEMI in this thing. So this is a 1955 270 cubic inch HEMI. So again, this is straight out of the 1950s, early 60s is kind of the period that this thing would have been modeled after, and they did a really good job. It's hard to find these old speed parts anymore anyway, but this thing is just, it's a runner and it's a looker, and you can't hardly beat that. It's nice and simple, nice and clean, just has the bare minimum what you need, keeps the weight down. And then back in the day, like I said, back in the 50s and 60s, this thing would have been hot stuff. It would have been something to beat for sure. So that's the big thing. And then mated behind that, which is bringing it a little more into the 20th century, would be a T5. So it's got a 5-speed manual transmission. Every hot rod should have 3 pedals. I don't care which transmission it is, if it's a 3-speed, 4-speed, 5-speed, 6-speed. 3 pedals. It's got a cool little shifter there. Bare bones on the inside. Just good looking, nice and clean. Some pleats, rolling pleats. Got the old style steering column. The machine turned gauge bezel is just a nice little hit for this thing. But from every angle, every part of this thing, you look at it, it just screams hot rod. And that is what we think a true, real deal hot rod is. Your 1955 Chevrolet, not so much. Your 69 Camaro, your whatever Mustang, your 72 C10, they're all cool. We've worked on all of them. We've built a lot of those, but it's not really a hot rod. This right here is a real deal hot rod. So back to the heartbeat of this hot rod. I know you want to hear what it sounds like. So let's get this thing fired up, see what this old HEMI sounds like. So again, this thing is so cool. It's bare bones. There's no air conditioner. Right here, if you want AC, this is it. So that opens your cowl vent, brings fresh air in. We got a heater right here. Let's see what this thing's all about. So yeah, this thing, like I said, I love a good bare bones hot rod. No AC, no carpet, the rubber floor mat down here. 3 pedals, a must-have to me in a good hot rod. If you want a straight shift. This thing's got a 5-speed like we talked about, which we mentioned that quick change. So you could run, you know, a 3-speed or 4-speed in this joker and just be able to swap them gears out. But it is nice to have that overdrive in this thing. But top's cut. You got to do this when you get to a stoplight to see if it's red or green. You can hear those quick changes have like straight cut gears in them. You can hear them whining. That's pretty cool with me too, I think. This little old baby HEMI, you know, 1955, 270 cubic inches. So it's definitely not a race car by today's standards, but it sounds cool, looks cool, it runs good. So yeah, this thing has not got a a real low gear in it because it's we're in 4th gear right now and it's not turning a ton of RPM. A good gear would help this little motor out, especially if this thing don't weigh anything. Yeah, a gear would make this thing pretty fun to drive. You can hear those quick change gears whining. I love it. That's what I'm talking about. This thing is really cool. Got a bunch of cool old speed parts they used on it, and it's just timeless. You can't really beat this car. It's a little old black barebones hot rod. This thing would have been cool in the 60s. It's cool now. It'll be cool 50 years from now, I hope. No electric motor here, but just a lot of fun. Handles about how you would expect from a 1932 Ford with just a cross leaf in the front. It's got a buggy spring in the back. Again, it's super old technology, but it's a really, really fun drive. There's just so much character to these cars like this. In my opinion, it's really, really hard to beat. It's not too awful loud in here. Has a good sound, but nothing crazy. Have this straight axle. I mean, it's not all over the road. Driving this thing one hand, no problem. Brakes feel good. You know, it's got 4-wheel drum brakes, 4-wheel manual drum brakes. But again, we didn't build this car. Whoever built this car did a really good job. The owner now, I think he said it came from the West Coast, and this thing's been built since like 2007, I believe. Which is cool. Like I said, it's been around. People have enjoyed it. It's got, looks like 9,300 miles on it now. T5 shifts pretty good. Those classic Instruments gauges, man, you can't beat their gauges. They're so nice, the attention to detail, and then they just look right at home in this machine turn bezel right here, which is, again, traditional old hot rod, really cool. Yeah, I dig this thing. And this thing came in, you know, just to give you guys an idea what we've done to it. Came in and it wouldn't shift, it wouldn't go into gear, wouldn't move. So we had to yank a transmission out of this thing. Ended up that the clutch pressure plate and flywheel were like corroded and rusty and wouldn't release from each other. So all that was just, you know, sticking together. Which is why, you know, when you push the clutch in, it didn't disengage and everything wanted to grind when you try to put it in gear. And then we did some adjustment to the actual slave cylinder. It's got a hydraulic slave cylinder to get that right. So that fixed it, and it's been running and driving nice now. In my opinion, this right here is it's a real deal hot rod. You know, again, like I said, nothing against the newer muscle cars and resto mod cars, the LS swap stuff, the Corvettes and C10s, Mustangs, but they're not hot rods, not to me. This right here is a hot rod. 32 Ford, you know, it was a single year type deal. You know, the Model A at 28 to 31, they were all very similar. 32 was kind of one year, and then the 33, 34s were very similar, 35, 36, and so on. But this 32 Ford, to I would say most people, is one of the most iconic hot rods ever built. And again, you know, 1932, they came out with the flathead V8, which was so crazy for its time. I think, you know, it still wasn't super slow, I guess, in today's, but didn't have a whole lot of power. But back then, if you had a 32 Ford with a V8 flathead, boy, shoo, you were doing things. And again, like 50s and 60s, they would swap these new motors, the small block Chevrolets, and then they got into these baby HEMIs. They got into the nail heads, Y blocks, all those cool old vintage motors. They would swap into these little cars because they didn't weigh anything, and go out there and do the dry lakes racing and the salt flats racing, and just a lot of cool history and tradition to these. And it's neat to see these that have been kind of restored or built to, I guess, that nostalgia factor. So, and here we are, we're back. We made it. Transmission still works, so we're good to go. The owner should be coming to pick this thing up soon. So there you go. That's our take on what a real deal hot rod is. 32 Ford, black. Got the right motor, got the right stance, got the right wheels and tires. You can't hardly beat this car. You know, we just went for a ride in it. It just takes you back. Makes me feel like I wish I grew up in the 50s and 60s. But yeah, hope you liked it. Stay tuned. We'll have some more content for you. Thanks for watching.